James, Yala member from South Sudan, and a member of Trade and Investment Committee.
Good morning. I'm Mariam Ali Keto, Nchumi, na CEO wa Nasaraba Store.
Good morning. I'm Esther Mengi, CEO of Serenzic Africa, member of EABC as well. Thank you.
Habari ni za asubuhi wa Mimi naitwa Ernesta Masawe, ni mwanachama wa East Africa Business Council. Shirika letu linaitwa Covea Tanzania.
Good morning, habari ya asubuhi. Naitwa Idaya Mkwizu. I'm working with East Africa Business Council Secretariat. Karibuni sana.
Good morning, my name is Ludovic Ernest. I'm working with East Africa Business Council. Thank you very much.
Habari za asubuhi, naitwa Frank Dafa kutoka Baraza la Biashara la Afrika Mashariki.
Morning, my name is Zefania Shahidi. I'm also from EABC Secretariat.
Okay, thank you so much. I think now we know who is in the room, so that we're able to move on well. Apologies, Secretary General, about the name, but I've really got it. Apologies that. Can we now have Madame Stella Eliada to give her remarks?
Thank you, Andrew, and good morning once again. Your Excellency, Veronica Nduva, SG, East African Community Secretariat, Madame Annette Semwemba, DSG, Dennis Carrera, Vice Chair, EABC, Directors, CEO, EABC, distinguished members of the business community present, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Arusha on behalf of the German Development Corporation and on behalf of Bjorn Richter, who is a cluster coordinator for the GIZ support to EAC and the program manager here. Ladies and gentlemen, GIZ has been a long-standing partner for EAC and EABC. As a matter of fact, last year we celebrated our Silver Jubilee. So we have been in this space for over 25 years now. And this is a testament to our commitment to promoting people-centered and private sector-led East African community. Over the years, we have partnered with EABC in a lot of initiatives to amplify the voice of the private sector in policy development and implementation, and also to galvanize the private sector to take advantage of business and investment opportunities within the region and beyond. For example, we provide training and capacity building through the EABC to equip the private sector with the information and tools in order for them to trade through the AFCFTA framework. More than 300 private sector representatives have been trained so far. And last year, we supported the EABC to bring together more than 500 business persons from the EAC in the business summit that we held in Kampala. We also work with the EABC to annually undertake what we call the Trade and Services Barometer, which is essentially to check the temperature and to see how far we are progressing with liberalization commitments and trade in services. We also work with the EABC to do an annual ease of doing business survey, which aims at doing a similar thing for the trade in goods and regional integration. So these are just a few of the initiatives that we have been privileged to partner with the EABC to conduct in the recent year. Many of these initiatives result in recommendations for governments and for the leadership in the EAC to take action. So we are therefore very pleased to see public-private dialogue events such as this one, because we believe that they are critical in resolving bottlenecks that the business sector faces in their quest for growth, for competitiveness, for export and investment. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as leaders and custodians of the community, the eyes of East Africans is on you, gathered here today, to find solutions to these challenges. Challenges that they face in moving across the region, be it in search for new business and investment opportunities, for tourism, or just to have fun. They do not expect the leadership to continue to articulate the problems, but to find solutions. So we look forward to this engagement today, and as GIZ, we stand ready to continue our support towards realizing the aspirations of the community. I thank you.
Stella, thank you so much. And also we thank you for GIZ for continued support towards the EAC integration process. And as you mentioned, we're here for solutions. With that, allow me to invite the Vice Chair, East African Business Council, Mr. Karira Dennis, to give your remarks. Dennis, you're welcome.
The Honorable Secretary General, Madam Veronica Nduva, Deputy Secretary General, Honorable Sadia from Yala, Member of Parliament from Yala, distinguished guests in your different capacities, members of the press, staff from different departments, all protocol observed, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me, first of all, to break the long chain of protocol. I'm not so good at lengthy protocols. Business people like to cut it short and go to business. And I would like to take that route. Allow me, in a very special way, Your Honorable Secretary General, to welcome you in a very special way, and I'll explain why special way, to the East African Business Council, as well as your deputy. In the recent past, it has been rare, and indeed very rare, let me add very rare, that we have a Secretary General and a Deputy Secretary General seated in the same room for the purpose of business of the region. It has been rare. We haven't seen it in a long time. Now it's happening. And I'm glad, Madam Secretary General, that in your first 2 months in office, you have accepted to come and start off with us. Clearly, we know you are in your take-off stage. 2 months is not enough period. Possibly you haven't found residence. Possibly you haven't moved all your properties to Arusha. Possibly the kids are still the other side. But you have decided to start with us. And our hope is that now that you have started with us, you will continue with us and you will conclude with us. So as we start, dear colleagues in the room, let us give our full support and put our full trust in our new Secretary General. I've had occasion to chat with her a bit, and different people have talked to her here and there. And picking from the just bits we've shared, she is fully committed to seeing this business grow in terms of business expansion, access to trade, and proper, effective customs union performance. These are the key things we are here for. So, Secretary General, we count on you. And I say this with passion, and I say this with commitment, because as business people, we have wanted this for some time. The last couple of years were not, and I say this without fear of contradiction, the past few years have not been so smooth for the business community between EAC and East African Business Council. I will tell you why at another forum. But it was slow. I'm sure you know it, but you will possibly want to hear it from the horse's mouth. It was slow. For reasons that people here know, others don't know. But that happened. So when you want to cure something, you don't bypass it. You address it. But we are so glad that we're with you, and we are taking off with you, and we know once we move together, the times, let me say this, the time we sat together with the Secretary General, the Deputy Secretary General, and members of the community, we made progress. The times we did not, we made many steps backward. So we'd like now to record several steps in front. The other interesting bit, ladies and gentlemen, is that for the first time, we have the Lady Secretary General and the Lady Deputy Secretary General. How many times have we had ladies leading the community? It's been rare. For the history of EAC, we have never had a Lady Secretary General. I guess you're the first one. And the Deputy. Now, I don't know where we got this thinking that ladies may not lead East African community. I don't know where it came from. And possibly, we were waiting for the Honorable Veronica in 2024 to come and start a new normal. The new normal is that women can lead this organization. Those of us who come from countries like Rwanda, where women play a very active role, we know too well that women at the top do it sometimes way better than men. So we are happy that ladies, the Honorable Secretary General, the Honorable Deputy Secretary General, in your different capacities, kindly lead us and let everybody see how women can steer development of the region so that we depart from the old norm of it is a man show, a man show, a man show at the Secretariat. Those remarks were off the written speech. I can now go to the written speech, for which I'm never a big fan, but I've been asked by my colleagues to read this speech. So allow me again to take this opportunity to welcome you to the EABC CEOs Forum Roundtable under the theme Boosting Intra-EAC Trade and Investment, Unlocking Barriers and Leveraging Opportunities. I'd like to express our greatest appreciation to Your Excellency, the EAC Secretary General, for agreeing to grace our roundtable today. Further, I would like to reiterate our confidence in your appointment as the Secretary General. Your participation in this roundtable demonstrates your firm commitment to achieving aspirations for the people-centered and market-driven East African community integration. As it were, people-centered, private sector-driven. This is the common word, this is the common saying of the East African integration. For several times we had been asking, to the highest level of the EAC, of the summit, it is people-centered, private sector-driven. So we said, if we, the private sector, are drivers, where is the steering And where is the seat? And are we in the seat? And quite often than not, we are not on the seat. We are not the driver. We are passengers. And we didn't know where we were being driven to. But let's work with you, and we believe you will tell us to take on the seat and drive the business where it is supposed to go. Honorable Secretary General, the EAC is credited by the African region, the Africa Regional Integration Index, as the fastest and most integrated economic bloc. Sometimes I get worried. That's why I don't like some of these speeches. They exaggerate things. We are looking for the right word. But there's a fantasy about us. We are the best performing region. Yet, we are trading at only 14% today. In the recent past, we are trading at 16% as a region. Today, we have dropped back to 14%. I heard acting ED saying, we have grown to 14%. You can't grow to 14%. After 20, we celebrated an anniversary recently. So that is not growth. Instead of growth, we had hit 16% trading together, which is ridiculous. But now we went back to 14%. Where are the problems? And these are the issues we need to address. So whereas we are praised for growth, internally we know we are not there. This is due to high performance in the indicators, I don't know which indicators those are, of the free movement of people, macroeconomic integration, and infrastructure integration. More importantly, the EAC economy has demonstrated strong resilience, and this is true, despite the several economic challenges such as COVID-19, climate change, and global economic shocks. Specifically, the economy is projected to grow by 5.1% in this year. In the year 2024, everyone watch out. This is August. We have 4 months to grow to by 5.1%. I think this is a statement for this is speech. This is for speech purposes. I don't think in the next 4 months we're going to grow by 5.1%. The region has also registered significant milestones under the customs union and common market, notably the establishment of the institutional framework of EAC Customs Management Act, implementation of the single customs territory, SCT, the adoption of the fourth band of EAC common market labor and persons, and the partial liberalization of the 7 agreed service sectors with commitment to negotiate the remaining 5 sectors. I think this is with CET. Other milestones in the implementation of the integration pillars, I said the monetary union, the political federation, are also in progress. And this is my word again with these written speeches. Some of these things, political integration and monetary union, are quite fast. We are talking 2030, I don't know what. So I would like to limit ourselves to what is achievable, and some of these things we cross the bridge when we get there. So again, these milestones are so beautiful in the speech, but the challenges are more than the milestones. Clearly the challenges, including our self-inflicted challenges. This progress is a testament of the efforts by the EAC partner states and the business community to transform the region into a single market for enhanced welfare and economic prosperity of the East African community. Of course, there are challenges with the single window, with the East Africa, under the customs union. There are problems there. You will get to learn a whole lot of problems from this excellent speech of this morning. A higher level of regional economic integration provides an enormous opportunity to promote economic and social development in the EAC. This requires deliberate and concerted efforts by the EAC partner states and the business community towards attaining higher level of intra-regional trade, harnessing sustainable economic growth, and repositioning EAC bloc to take advantage of the tripartite COMESA, EAC SADC, free trade area, as well as the Africa ACFTA. How we get this done? In theory, we have signed the tripartite recently. SADC, EAC, and COMESA. These organizations have existed for the last 25, 30 years. And we're only signing a tripartite in 2024, after 25 years. So possibly we'll need another 25 years to see them working as a tripartite, or how long shall we, now that it is signed, and shall it happen in our time or past our time? What is going to happen? Honorable Secretary General, let me tell you, the East African community has had some of the best speeches of this nature. It has had a couple of studies to unlock the performance of things. So many. It has had intellectuals. This region has so many interesting intellectuals with so much knowledge written in cupboards. Everything is in shelves. And we wonder, with all this knowledge, with all these documents, with everything, how far are we going to go writing more of these documents, making good speeches? I tell you, if we opened up to speeches today, we would have the most beautiful speeches across the region. But if we go to action and tick what has been done, the list starts going lower. What is the problem? That's what we need to address. Elimination. For EAC to sustain its effective integration process, EABC strongly recommends addressing persistent business concerns and creating a predictable and business-friendly environment for trade and investment. More specifically, we recommend the EAC Secretariat to champion the following. Again, I get worried about this form of speech because some of these things are supposed to be done by us, the private sector. Now, when we say we request the Secretary General to do this, we probably should ask for a partnership. We deploy our own energies, and possibly Secretary General comes in to knock the doors that we think are complicated for us. Otherwise, if you request the Secretary General remove these barriers, some of the barriers are self-inflicted. Some of them are done by us, made by us, despite the fact that 7 years ago, we signed the Code of Conduct for the region as a business community. We signed the Code of Conduct in Arusha here and agreed that let we, the business community, not undermine the efforts we are making. 3 months down the road, everything changed. So the problem sometimes lies more with us than the agencies. So one is the elimination of persistence and recurring non-tariff barriers. Under partner states to eliminate, urge the partner states to eliminate a whole long list of NTBs and expedite the ratification of the amended EAC Elimination of Non-Tariff Barriers Act. Now, tariff barriers, NTBs, have been a problem, persistent problem. Every chairperson of the community, as far as I remember, the last 5 chairpersons of the East African community have been presented with papers, very nice papers about NTBs. NTBs were settled, resolved to a certain extent, but every time we resolve 50, 25 new ones are born. And this is the biggest challenge. That we solve 50, 25 are born. So we are never at a point where we have solved all the non-tariff barriers. And some of these, again, are self-created at national level and regional level sometimes. Uniform application of EAC CET, the Common External Tariff. Do we do that? To an extent, yes. To a certain extent, no. Operationalize the EAC Trade Remedies Committee under Secretary General, under the partner states, to urge the partner states to fast track the ratification of the amendment, Article 24, 2 of the EAC Customs Union Protocol on the establishment of the Trade Remedies Committee, which is in charge of handling the disputes. As far as I remember, when I was Secretary General, the Trade Remedies Committee, the protocol on this and the discussion has been shelved for the last 7 good years. And remedies, every time we bring up the discussion on trade remedies, this discussion dies immediately. Meaning, there are parties within us that have no interest in seeing the trade remedies implemented. Discussion has been, I remember this particular one, we have discussed it for the last 7 years. Adrian, I think I'm correct on that. The last 7 years, it has not moved an inch. harmonization of domestic taxes and removal of discriminatory taxes, charges of equivalent effect and fees. So we need to urge partner states to eliminate discriminatory taxes and charges of equivalent effect imposed on EAC originating goods as they contravene the EAC Customs Union protocol. Clearly, without going into every detail, the Customs Union protocol is not respected. Very simple, long and short of the story. There is so much to be followed, but no, people don't respect it. When we go back to our respective countries, we pick and choose what we should follow and what we shouldn't. And it kills the spirit, it kills the practice. Very simple. There are so many things I could read through here. But we don't follow the Customs Union as it is. That's a problem. And we need to solve that problem right from the source with the relevant authorities. Commissioner Generals of Revenue Authorities, Ministers of Trade, Ministers of EAC, and even at the highest level, at the summit level, these are some of the things to unlock. Because we discussed these things several times. So liberalization of air transport. When I speak about this, I nearly shed tears. And don't be surprised if you see me shed tears about this. Secretary General, I have ever personally, taking my own example, in the recent past, spent 24 hours to travel from Kigali to Zanzibar. 24. In 24 hours, you have moved from Arusha to Australia. For us, we are still moving from Kigali to Zanzibar. Airspace discussion has gone on to the highest level. To an extent, we took it to the highest level of the summit. And heads of state sat in a room, and we were invited and we were there. And they discussed liberalization of airspace. Why can't East Africa be a domestic, all these airports become domestic airports? So that we have flights flying back and forth. We have discussed this issue. We have presented papers. I remember in 2015, we were requested by the heads of state summit to present a particular study. DFID funded that study. We hired the highest level consultant, who presented a very good study on cost-benefit analysis of opening up airspace. That is in 2015. Today, we are nearly 10 years later, space is still locked. This discussion has gone on to the highest level, as I said. Ministers of transport have been involved. It has gone back and forth. We still have challenges of how to travel across the region. The fifth freedom has not been given, so we still have all these routes, Kigali to Arusha, Arusha to Bujumbura, I don't know, you go through where. So this is one item we need to right away take to the highest level, because we were there when it was at the summit level, and it was locked there. So we need to take it to the level summit again and try to unlock this. Because, when I was Secretary General, the challenge here is, and I think we need to be very pragmatic on this one. If some people do not want to come along, those who are willing should move. Variable geometry should apply in these things. Otherwise, we'll be stuck forever. And now with the advent of the East African, the ACFTA, our thinking is, if people don't want to act regionally, then we expand and work with those in other regions, and we open the space rather than getting stuck near here. But it's an embarrassment that as a region, we have failed to domesticate our airspace. So the cost of tax of tickets, you were in Kigali recently, you travel across the region, you know the cost of a ticket today, it's still sometimes $800. From these destinations, $800. Bujumbura to Arusha, Kigali to Nairobi, sometimes tickets are as high as $800. It is ridiculous. It's a shame. Then finalization. Now, my former speech had about 7 points under liberalization of airspace. But I don't need to mention all this. We know where the problem is. It's about one thing, to get the summit and the summit urges ministers of transport, open airspace for the region, period. Then finalize the liberalization of all trade in services. Urge the EAC partner states to finalize the approval of the revised schedule of commitments on the progress of liberalization of the 7 agreed service sectors which have been stuck at the sectoral level on legal and judicial affairs. Again, this is stuck at the EAC level. I'm glad the Honorable MP is here. These things we discuss, they get stuck. Free movement of labor, of services across the region has not happened, Honorable Secretary General. Mutual recognition agreements have not been signed. Today, lawyers from Arusha here cannot go to Kigali and start practice. Engineers from Kigali cannot be building houses in Arusha here. Teachers don't move freely. Services don't move. Pharmacies in Nairobi cannot go open up in Arusha here. It doesn't happen. To an extent that we still, last night I thought it had changed actually. I had to use my passport to come to Tanzania. Despite the agreement several years back that let's cross these borders with an ID. So when I go to the border, I presented my ID, they said passport. And I said, but it's the same document. They said, no. For us, the Bible is the passport. So these are things that are ridiculous to the region. I want to say ridiculous. So we need to address the issue of movement of services. We need to have mutual recognition agreements. And you may want to know, Honorable Secretary General, and I'm sure your deputy has briefed you, the resistance that we have seen from certain service areas between certain professions. Fiona, I think, will confirm to me, a board member from Uganda, when we try to have a mutual recognition agreement for lawyers across the region. Initially, there was resistance from Kenya. Kenya was said no. Now again, I'm sure resistance will come from Tanzania. Before you know, resistance will be, it's like every country practice some resistance and see. So we have refused lawyers to go cross borders to practice. I remember we brought architects here in Arusha. It was a tug of war. We had a fight in Arusha here to have architects sign a mutual recognition agreement. And for architects, honestly, imagine people like architects who are much needed across the region. They don't move. You have to go for this permission, you have to be filed here, the permit. Work permit, Secretary General, work permit, we agreed in these forums at the highest level that the work permit should take maximum, and it was signed in Ngurudoto here in 2015, that a maximum of 7 days should be enough for issuance of a work permit. Today, Honorable Secretary General, in this country where we sit, a work permit takes 2 years or more or never. You may not get. For Kenya, at some point, Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda, we had reached a record 7 days. Then it started going back. Those who were at 7, they started pushing it back to about, let's take it to about a month. Let's understand this document. Let's do this and this. So currently, there's almost very restricted movement of labor across the region. It's so restricted under different explanations. Pretext, oh no, why don't we protect the jobs here? So this is the real challenge we have. Then we need to initiate the commencement of negotiations for liberalization of the remaining unliberalized 5 sectors, which are energy services, environmental services, health and social services. You can imagine things like health. They're not moving freely. And we need these doctors across the region because sickness knows no border. Instead, we are happy to fly to India. We're happy to fly. I think the flight contributes to recovery. I don't know. But we're happy to fly to distances and pay more money rather than come for services in our own region. Why don't we attract all these doctors we find in India? Why don't we bring them here? There's no regional hospital. Region like East African Hospital, East African Center for Cancer Treatment. But we are happy to go to look for cancer medicine in India, several miles away. Why? So those areas, health and social services, construction and related services, recreational, cultural, and sporting services. Sporting maybe have done well, but a few other areas, things are not working. Implementation of the EAC commitments by the new EAC partner states. We commend the EAC heads of state for their efforts to widen the EAC integration process by adding the Republic of South Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. We therefore urge the Secretariat to mobilize support which enables the newly joined partner states to fully implement their regional commitments. But on this one again, and I'm glad the Honorable MP from Yala and South Sudan is here. In Ngurudoto, in Arusha here, in 2016, I remember, if I'm loose, I think you are the ED or something. In 2016 or 17, South Sudan was signed on board. We sat in here in Arusha with. This is 2024, and there's no board member here from South Sudan. We have tried our level best as business council. We have gone to Juba, we have gone to where we've tried to engage, to pull our brothers from South Sudan. But 1 year, you are dealing with one chamber. Another year, there's another chamber born, and you are dealing with it. Another year, the other one, you have a third one, and one member from the first one joined this one. So it's a bit of a mix. So the region has failed, or members have failed to sit down and synchronize positions to which we should take and pick as a region and move. So the performance of EABC now in South Sudan, I think is limited to certain individuals, a certain chamber. Sometimes they are here, sometimes they are not. It's like you choose to be there when you want, and when it doesn't suit you, you don't be there. So these are the real problems. Again, it will be hard for us to ask you to tell us what to do. Like to ask you to tell South Sudan, we should be telling the Honorable MP that please, your people are letting us down. And I think this should not be limited to the Honorable member from South Sudan. I think at some point we should be telling every Honorable member from whichever region is presenting an obstacle, a non-tariff barrier, we should tell them point blank, you are the trouble causer. This is what we think. So, Your Excellency, Secretary General, at this juncture, and on behalf of the EAC board, I would like to formally request you to make this roundtable an annual event. I would like to make an edit on this one. ED, why annual? Annual is too long. We need the SG almost every trimester if possible. Funds allowing, time allowing, which I'm sure she has. Why don't we meet with her every quarter? Honorable SG, I would be glad if you allow, if you commit this year, if we can, every quarter. Would you honestly prefer to get 1 day in 90 days, give us one, and we discuss, or two at least, because we may need to arrive, and then 2 days within 90, so that we leave you with 88, and we use 2 of your time to make the region move. That is my humble request, Honorable Secretary General. I'll be most glad that in your speech, opening remarks, you accept the 2 days per quarter. So in line with the EAC Council of Ministers directive, we look forward to participate in the EAC Head of State Summit and engaging the EAC Council of Ministers prior to the summit. We look forward to these requests. It's actually, this is, Honorable SG, this is not a new thing. Back in 2016, back in 2017, we requested the summit to always give us a seat at the table. And the summit studied our case, and they said, why not after all? Why do we discuss issues of the private sector, and they're in the room, and some person is speaking for them? Who was this person speaking for them? The Minister of Trade sometimes, or the Minister of EAC. And sometimes, these officials would not know exactly what we want to convey. So we pushed the highest level. We asked the summit, can you give us a seat? And they gave us a seat. It was a struggle. My comrade Vimal Shah, we recall, it was a big struggle because some technocrats in government were so resistant, like, where are they, this private sector going? Can't we represent them? But why are you representing us? We are here. And it is us who make the region move. Why don't we present our issues themselves? So they gave us a seat anyway. In every summit, we are always present. We walked in, our seat was there, not just for one person, but the East African Business Council was represented by about all the vice chairs from different countries, and we had where to sit, and we had an allocation in the timetable. It was regular. When did it die? And that's why I want to conclude my speech with it. What happened to it? The past Secretary General and the past Secretary General It died during the past. It was buried during the past. And I would like to see this resurrect at the present. So it died, buried, now it has reached resurrection. Honorable Secretary General, kindly resurrect our engagement at the summit level, because at the planning, and I'm sure you'll meet this, the program, the usual program for the summit, usually done by the Council of Ministers or Ministers of EAC with the consultation of the Secretary General. A tendency came up. I remember we had a fight one time in Kenya, a deliberate effort by a certain minister to say, we have a short time, EAC, EABC shouldn't participate. And we say, but why? Why shouldn't we participate? We are here, we traveled for this purpose, they expect us. They say, no, we shall speak for them. So our request is, on the agenda of every summit, let us be there, let our seat be there, let us present our issues in a short way. We are fully aware that the time is usually short for the summit, but it can't be too short for the private sector, because we are the driver. We become contradictory. The private sector is the driver of the region. Then when you come to the summit, you say, no, there's no time for the driver. Then what exactly are you doing? It is misnaming. It is private sector driven, but you say, no, you. So kindly, SG, whenever there's a summit, allow us, create us our seats, number one, let us be there, and let us be on the program so that we articulate our issues, and hopefully, piecemeal by piecemeal, we shall achieve certain things under your direction and guidance. I thank you very much, Honorable Secretary General. I'm more than happy that we are with you today, and we can't wait to see this engine moving faster in your during term of office. I thank you very much.
Another round of applause to the Vice Chairperson, EABC. Then thank you so much. NTBs 50 removed, 25 created. 24 hours from Kigali to Zanzibar. Work permits, 2 years or more or never. We are happy to fly to India for treatment. Oh. So the request from EABC, SG, you have started with the private sector, move along with the private sector. Everything will move on smoothly. With that, I would like to invite the Deputy Secretary General in charge of Customs, Trade and Monetary Affairs to give her remarks. Then in the process we invite the Secretary General also to give her remarks. Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you, moderator. Good morning. Good morning. We just had a very, very powerful, we just listened to a very powerful speaker, the Vice Chair, and I hope he kept you awake. So your good morning should be loud and firm, and we should be energized and ready for the discussion. I don't have long remarks to make. I think my responsibility will be to invite our Honorable Secretary General. However, before I do so, I will make 3 key points. I sat in the morning next to the Vice Chair Carrera, and I suppose he read my notes because some of the points he has raised I had noted down. Nevertheless, I will repeat. And it's also a statement I've made many, many times in discussions that we've engaged with. And the first one is, we are not short of policies in this region. We are not short of projects. We are not short on programs. We are not short on strategies. we are not short on capacity, we are short on implementation. We know exactly what we need to do. And I hope that by the end of this dialogue, we will have co-created some new approaches, because continually I reflect on how we engage and whether it is these engagements that need also to change in some ways. I'm cognizant that in this room, we lack the presence of the public sector, not us at the Secretariat, but those that must listen and take away these actions and take the necessary action for us as Secretariat to be able to follow up. So we've taken this away in the technical working group, which was mentioned by the executive director. We are hoping to bring on board the officials that are working on these issues at a technical level so that we can engage with them. And hopefully that will lead to some action. The second point that I want to make is that there's also some reflection by the private sector that is needed to guide us on how exactly they would want us to be able to support these different efforts. We receive different submissions from different partner states, and sometimes there's a sense that there's a lack of organization within the private sector itself. And it can be quite confusing for us who are trying to drive a regional program. So we hope that that reflection can also take place internally to help us be able to support and create the change that we are all looking for. And my last point is that I reiterate the commitment. In September, we relaunched the engagement at a technical level, and we have made progress. We've brought together all the issues into a roadmap that need to be discussed. We're going to tackle issue by issue and assign responsibility accordingly, but we must be fast. There's no time. We have to work faster, and we're cognizant that this is very, very important. So I pledge to support the Honorable Secretary General in this endeavor, and we've had your plea, Vice Chair. We will move forward, we will engage, and we will ensure that there's accountability. Accountability on the part of the Secretariat and accountability on the part of the private sector. So with those remarks, please do allow me to invite Honorable Secretary General to address us. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Secretary General. Allow me, distinguished guests, before I make my remarks, we have a representative here from our other organ, the East Africa Legislative Assembly, Honorable Sadia. I think it's only fair we hear from you very briefly. Karibu.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Secretary General, Deputy Secretary General, Chair of the Business Council, Deputy Chair, business community leaders. So I'm really glad to have been given the opportunity. So I would like to say best of morning to all of us. So what I can say it like of what all the issues have been raised, like for us EALA members, these are our concern, especially with the issue of liberalization of airspace. It was a concern, the motion was raised, and you know, we went through a lot, you know, like as Committee of Communication, Trade and Investment, we have raised so many motions regarding how best we wanted to see our community is engaging in business. So it's really very sad that, you know, the community so far have been in existence for so far 20 years. But now what we could see, the trade at 14%, it's really, you know, it's really like, you know, you feel so bad about it. So as members of EALA, we are really trying so hard, especially the committee where I am. So we are trying a lot And like I would like to say it, even the issues of, the issues of finance, investment in the region, like we have our chair who is Right Honorable Shabal, also, he's in quest of motion to have like East African Investment Bank to address the issue, because we have East African Development Bank, but it's still, we have issues that our traders are facing. So these issues of finances we would also want to address at the committee level to come up with initiative for East African to have East African Investment Bank. So like going back to what the deputy chair has raised concerning, like particularly to me as representative of South Sudan, early of this month, I and my colleague, we took it upon ourselves as from members of Committee of Trade and Investment, Dr. Ann, so we took it upon ourselves to find a way to address these issues so that we can have our traders, engaging in this business region-wise in a smooth way. But, we really had so many engagement which are so positive, and I'm happy to say that our association, South Sudan Association for Manufacturers, they fully registered. I think you can also confirm they fully registered as a member. So we are really very happy. This is of early this month. So, we got so much support. Even we went to the ministry. We wanted to see that the ministry is cooperating, because, we have our manufacturers, but now, they find it very hard. Like I can say it of example of our fish traders. They are, they are engaging in this business, but then they find it very hard with our Ugandan colleagues, because what they could do is to pass through the Uganda border to export the fish to DRC. So it's always a problem by then. By then they said the fish were premature. Afterward, that case was addressed, but now what they could do is the custom officers, they could, take money from the traders. They don't give them receipt. When they reach at the border between Uganda and DRC, it becomes a problem. They tell them, you have to what? You have to sell your fish here at the border between Uganda and DRC. So the traders from DRC will have to cross Uganda and buy it from the Ugandan side. So this is of last month. So even early this month, we tried to address, I and my colleague, we took it upon ourselves, because we really wanted to see that our private sector is so engaging in the community. That is whereby we can see that our people are benefiting from this integration. Because like for us, South Sudan, even those who have been there, they know. People are complaining, what are we benefiting from this integration? So if they don't involve in the private sector, then the integration becomes very useless. So on our part, we are taking it upon ourselves to make sure that our private sector is fully engaged. So we are really very happy that we have a member to EABC, which can really, pull up. And also on our side, we are really working hard to make sure that our government fully integrated in this custom union, because we still have problems. We are not fully integrated into this custom union. So when you are not fully integrated, then you expect such problems to arise. So our prayers as EALA members to see that the community is engaging. Intra-EAC trade is at 100%. This is our prayers. And we hope that it will be possible with time. So as our Secretary General, the new Secretary General, we hope that she will do her best regarding how at the high level delegation to make sure that all countries, DRC, South Sudan, fully integrate. The moment we are fully integrated, those problems will be half solved. So this is our prayers. We pray that our Secretary General will do her best, and as well the private sector will do their best. And for us members, we are to represent people, and whatever issues we have, we can try our best to make sure that we are able to bridge the gap. So with this, I don't have much. I would say my prayer is to see that we are engaging in the business at 80% and probably 100%. So with these remarks, I thank you all.
Thank you so much, Honorable Sadia. As you're coming to sit down, I could hear the Vice Chair saying that you're using words like hope and we pray. And he was like, whatever you're saying is a prayer, and what we need are actions. And maybe I can echo that and say you're very well placed, honorable member, to actually give a little nudge to RSS to start actually putting in place what is needed in matters customs union, matters common market. But thank you so much for those insights. So, Mr. Vimal Shah, Past Chairman, East African Business Council, Mr. Dennis Carrere, Vice Chair, East African Business Council, Mr. Adrian Jau, the Acting Executive Director for the EABC board members, business leaders present here today, representatives from GIZ, representatives from Stanbic, Honorable Sadia, Ms. Annette Muemba, Deputy Secretary General, Customs, Trade and Monetary Affairs, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished members of the Fourth Estate, good morning. Mko salama? Wale ambao umetoka nje, karibuni Arusha. It's warmer now. I came here and I was like, oh my goodness, I thought Nairobi was cold, and I woke up one morning and it was 12 degrees. And I was like, this world is not my home. Member from DRC, bienvenue. Karibu sana. So I'm like the vice chair. I have a thing with speeches that is going to make me very unpopular with my staff, because I toss all of them up and I'm like, why are we saying this, and what about this, and what about this? But it is true. Sometimes the written word can be very good and say many good things. But like Mr. Vimal likes to say, it can be a NATO product. Nothing, no action, talk only. Okay? So I'm happy that the Vice Chair, in your remarks, you have really spoken from your heart. There are a couple of things that you said. I think one of the first thing is to say thank you so much for the warm welcome. And I think you were teeing me up when you started with a nice warm welcome, so that you now remove the rungu and you hit all the places where it is paining, but really happy. But maybe to some of your specific asks before I go to my remarks. You know, when you talked about meetings and then you talked about trimester, I will tell you as a woman that trimester means something totally different. And you had me worried until you used quarterly. And then I knew what your reference is. And now that we are talking about that request, I think it is really a good request. I think it's important to engage continually. However, we are also, it would be good to have a different consideration, perhaps have half yearly, considering that the council, which is our policy organ, also meets half yearly, and then we are able to actually give responses based on our council decisions. And I think we'll be talking with the team here. Isuzu is here, GIZ, Stanbic is here to see how best we can continue this support of a roundtable. I think it's important, and I was having a chat last evening on email with Vimal, and I asked him, I said, well, last week you invited me to Nairobi for the KEPSA roundtable, a very good engagement, but we left there without a way forward. So what makes it different? Are we just going to come and talk to ourselves? And then what will we benchmark